Hello everyone, it's Path. Today we're going to talk about this topic, modern set equals better investment. That is honestly my opinion, it's not clickbait, and I'm going to quickly just show you why I think so. Of course, feel free to disagree with me or chip in if you have any other point of view. We can always discuss about things like this because these are really very subjective, and unless you have a crystal ball, nobody really know what is going to happen in the next few years. But I'm going to share with you why I think this is true. Now, first of all, we're just going to quickly go here, and this is Pokédata. We're going to take a look at all the booster boxes from in English. I'm not looking at Japanese, so at the moment we're only looking at the English booster boxes from the older sets to the newer sets. And as you know, the base set first edition is of course the oldest set, and at the moment, according to Pokédata, the price is market price is close to 17,000 US dollar, and the base set Shadowless is close to 100,000. It's 92,000. This is, I'm not too sure whether this price is correct. Honestly, I'm not at the, I'm not familiar with this kind of market because I'm not, looking to buy. Yeah, but it seems like it really was once sold. This is last year. So, yeah, the most recent sold was last year. Maybe there are some private sales, but on eBay, the most recent was last year, June, and it was sold at 92,000. So it seems like at the moment this is, the most expensive. And then you have the Jungle Unlimited close to 10,000, first edition 16,000, fossil. So you can see all the first edition boxes usually have a little bit of premium on them. Team Rocket and Team Rocket first edition 18,000, Gym Heroes 18,000, Neo Genesis 18,000, and then we are going to go to the time where we have, I think it is right about this time, Aquapolis, Skyreach, Sandstorm, where I think it was around here, right? Where we switched from WotC to Nintendo, where they printed the boxes themselves. And of course, I think most people know that Skyreach is one of the lowest printed set in terms of print run, and the price reflects that. It was 33,000 market price. And a little bit surprising to me is that the Team Rocket Returns actually is a higher price box than Skyreach. I didn't expect that, but yeah, it's probably because the recently we have the Glory of Team Rocket and also Destined Rivals coming out in English, and probably this went up a little bit. But the other EX boxes are also very low print run, so you can see that the Delta Species, Holland Phantoms, these are many people's, the high-end collectors, they really collect this in terms of the singles and also the boxes. And then we have, once you see after EX generation or the era, whatever you want to call it, from Diamond and Pearl onwards, you can see there's a pretty sharp drop in price. And from year 2007 onwards, you can see that the price from 20, 30, 10 plus thousand, it drops quite drastically. Diamond Pearl base is still went for 11,000, and the rest is like 4, 5,000. And some of the better ones or the lower print run ones like Stormfront, Legend Awaken, it is still pretty high price, 9,000, 10,000. Hygo Soul Silver 300, really? Probably something wrong with this. I'll take a look at them later. So, but Black and White base 2008. And so on and so forth. Plasma Storm is one of the more popular ones. Dragon Assaulted, something wrong with this, I suppose. Okay, and let's move on to the more recent sets. So here we are going into XY era. So the base close to 2,400. Furious Feast, Phantom Forces. The more popular sets, $3,000. Fates Collide, 1,350. CP6, I'm not sure what it's doing here. It's obviously Japanese. And then from Sun and Moon onwards, that's where you see that the boxes really, if you know the print runs for Pokemon, you know that from Sun and Moon onwards, they almost doubled or maybe even close to triple the print runs in terms of the volume compared to the earlier years. That definitely shows in the box prices, because when things are less, rare, less scarce, prices will definitely drop. That's how collectibles work. But Team Up is one of the one that didn't get a reprint at all, and there are people who really like the cards inside. So actually this is one of the outlier, I would say, if you compare to the other boxes. The better boxes are still going quite well. $1,000, close to $2,000. Cosmic Eclipse was one of the one that actually went up quite a bit in the last few months. And then when we go to Sword and Shield era, again, I think they doubled or even close to tripled the print runs. Every year they used to print about 3 billion of this in different, including the different languages in the Sun and Moon era. And then when they go to Sword and Shield, they raise it up to about 9 billion in a year. So again, you can see a sharp drop. Of course, you may say that, oh yeah, the first few sets, they are not so good. Maybe that's not indicative of how the performance is. But if you look at all the boxes across compared to the earlier years, you can see a pretty big difference. Of course, you can say that, yeah, of course, they are younger. They're only 4 years old, 5 years old. Some of this is approaching 5 years. This is already more than 5 years. And for the better sets, when they reach 5 or 6 or 7 years, like the Sun and Moon boxes, maybe they will reach the same price. But honestly, nobody can tell, because unless you have a crystal ball, we do not know. So 3 years later, maybe we can come back and revisit this. But at the moment, it doesn't seem likely that they will reach the same exact height, given how the collectible markets is really run by scarcity. The prices is decided by how much supply there are and how much demand there are. So once you reach the equilibrium there, that's where the price is agreed upon. And of course, we know Evolving Sky is doing very well. And then when we go into the most recent set that just ended, Scarlet and Violet, again, they raised it by about 10 to 20% in terms of the volume. So yeah, some of these sets are just about to go out of print in about half a year of time. So from SV1 to SV4, including the specialty set in between, they're gonna go out of print soon. So at the moment, they are still okay. I mean, they are above MSRP, of course. The MSRP in Singapore is about 248 Singapore dollar. So if you convert that to the USD, it's probably close to 180. I'm not sure, 180, 170, something like that. But in the US, this is quite a little bit above MSRP. And of course, yeah, everybody knows about it and it's quite popular. Today, we are going to just quickly go through, I think I've shared a little bit about the high value booster boxes, especially the older generations, what kind of prices they can go. So I just want you to keep in your mind, like in the older, I think in the last 20 years, the really popular ones that everybody keep talking about is like Skyreach, where like 30,000, Team Rocket returns the $30,000 to $40,000. Those are the prices where I think it's probably like the absolute ceiling. Of course, you have the Shadowless, but I don't think any other boxes is going to reach that height, because things are not so rare anymore, and people knows to keep some of this, sealed. So even if you are talking about, in another 20 years, definitely you will still find sealed boxes around, and not like Shadowless, you really almost couldn't find them at all, sealed product. So yeah, high value boxes to me, I think the ceiling is probably close to, especially for the more modern set, $20,000 to $30,000. I think that's probably the ceiling, looking at how the boxes went for those that came out like close to 20 years ago. And we're also going to talk about the potential gain of some of these boxes, just a few for, to tickle your mind a little bit and make you thinking, and also potential loss. We don't only talk about gain, but we can lose sometimes when things happen. And finally, I'm just quickly summarize the video. So potential gain, let's just look at this too. Actually, I didn't really think very carefully how I want to pair them up, but as we all know, Destined Rivals is probably one of the best SV set. I think it's quite hard to argue that. If it's not the first, maybe the second. So let's just say that Destined Rival at the moment, if you're buying at the market price, is $320, and for Team Up is close to 8,000 at the moment. Singapore, this is USD. Let's say 5 years later, quite conservatively, we can say that in 5 years, do I think Destined Rival is going to triple in price? I think it is quite probable. 5 years, so this is probably quite reasonable to believe. But do you think team up is gonna go to 24,000, the same, you know, triple in 300% of the price that you pay today in 5 years time? Hard to tell, but let's stretch it a little bit further. Let's say 10 years from now, do you think the Destined Rival will reach a height of, you know, $1,560? This is 5 times. Oh, supposed to be 5 times, but I think I did something wrong there. But never mind. Let's just say $1,600, 5 times, 500%, and 500% of team up is going to be $40,000. So, do you think in 10 years time, the team up box is going to be as expensive as a Skyreach box? Or, you know, even Team Rocket return at the moment? Do you think that will happen in 10 years time? And I think this is something that we should think about. And I do not have a crystal ball, but I would think that this is probably quite difficult to achieve for team up. Even though it is team up, we all know that it's very rare, but it is out there. Actually, people can still find them. I still see them even in Singapore, even though it's very expensive, but it is there. Compared to some of these, you know, almost legendary status boxes like the Skyreach, you know, Return of Team Rocket, it's very difficult to find them at all unless you find them on eBay, and then you have to worry about whether they're real or not. So it's a different kind of problem. But yeah, so if you are just thinking about from the monetary investment point of view, which one will 3x first, which one will 5x first, I would say Destined Rival probably will be a, you know, a safer play. Let's look at another pair, Surging Spark and Fusion Strike. This is probably the second or the third best set of each of their respective era. So Surging Spark for SNV and, you know, Fusion Strike for Sword and Shield. So at the moment, Surging Spark is 250, Fusion Strike is 800. And again, same exercise. In 5 years, do I think Surging Spark will go 3 times in terms of price to go $750? Maybe. In fact, I think it's quite likely. What about Fusion Strike? Do I think that they will go to $2,400 in 5 years time? It's a little bit harder to say, isn't it? And what about, let's stretch it a little bit further, 10 years from now, do I think Surging Spark is going to go 5 times the current price, you know, $1,250? Again, maybe, maybe not, but I would say at least close, right? Maybe 10% give and take from this number. I think that is quite reasonable. But what about Fusion Strike? Do I think it's going to go to $4,000 in 10 years time? Again, now it's, you know, getting a little bit stretched because, again, we all know that Fusion Strike, the boxes are out there. Yeah, what is the ceiling of this box? Do we think that, you know, in 10 years time, maybe you say, you know, 20, 30 years later, maybe it will get there. But 10 years, I'm not so sure, right? It's a little bit harder to be sure about this. And next, we're going to talk about, ooh, this one is spicy, right? Paldea Evolved and Evolving Sky. Again, I'm not really comparing them side by side. I'm just, you know, sharing the screen space. So yeah, in no way, shape or form am I actually comparing them. This is not, you know, apple to apple comparison. I'm just sharing the space and giving you the numbers. So right now, Paldea Evolved is $350. Evolving Sky, I know it's more than 2,000. It's probably close to, you know, 2,600, something like that. But let's just say that it's 2,000, right? Do I think in 5 years time, Paldea Evolved is gonna hit 1,000? This one is actually maybe a little bit difficult, right? Evolving Sky, 6,000. Basically team up price, possible because, you know, this is Evolving Sky. But if I really take the current price, which is actually already quite close to 3,000, 2,400, I think is the more current price, that this will be closer to 7,000. And let's stretch it a little bit further. In 10 years time, do I think Paldea Evolved is gonna hit $1,350? By then, Paldea Evolved would have been about 12 years old in terms of the age. And yeah, do I think it's gonna hit this? Maybe, maybe not. I would think it's probably going to be pretty close, maybe plus minus 15%, 10%. But what about Evolving Sky? Do I think it's gonna hit 10,000? Do I think it's gonna be, you know, going even higher than many of the vintage boxes? Again, it is not easy to tell because we know the boxes are out there. There are people who have cases of Evolving Sky compared to some of the vintage boxes. We know, yes, we know a lot of people really love Evolving Skies, but how many people are actually willing to pay $10,000 for a box, even though, you know, we know that it is really good, but actually, to be honest, I think this is actually quite, you know, possible. But I want to, let's go to another perspective, because right now we are talking about potential gain in terms of percentage, but let's talk about potential loss, shall we? So if we are looking at the more current set, let's just use back the same three example. I use Destined Rivals, Surging Spark, and Paldea Evolved. These are the respective prices, and let's just say the MSRP is a nice $160 per box. I'm going to play a scenario right now that if Pokemon really did something bad, or okay, maybe not the Pokemon company themselves, maybe the market just decided to reject Pokemon for whatever reason, right? I don't care what reason it is, it could be anything. If the market one day decides that no, we do not support Pokemon anymore, right? The market really crashed, nobody wants Pokemon TCG anymore, and everything drops back to MSRP. This is in theory, right? What is the value that you're going to lose? Let's say if you just add this tree up, it's going to be about, you know, 900. Is it 900? 900 something. And then you minus MSRP for each box, that's $480. You're going to get, you know, $440. That means you're going to lose, if you own one of these boxes each, and you're going to lose $440 if you buy it at the current market price. So yeah, it's bad. But what if you have this, or you decide to invest in this boxes at the current market price, right? Team Up $8,000, Fusion Strike $800, Evolving Sky $2,000. This is going to be, you know, cost you more than $10,000. And let's just say that we all know that, of course, this is not going to drop to MSRP. Even if everybody rejects Pokemon now, you know, the demand really go down the drain. There are still collectors who still want to collect them. You know, you just look at some of the failed TCG, like your MetaZoo and all this funny and funky TCG that, you know, really totally failed. And there are still people who collect them, especially the first edition ones or the really special boxes, and there are still some prizes to it. So let's just give it, you know, maybe they won't drop to 1 times MSRP. Let's just say they drop to 3 times MSRP, right? 3 times MSRP. I even give you the current MSRP, not even the MSRP during their era. So $480. So now let's do the same exercise and add all this 3 up and minus 3 times MSRP for each of the boxes. It will come to a number of $6,480. So this is what I always thought about when I was thinking about what and how I should spend my money. My spare money, of course. Please don't use your, you know, dinner money to buy all this thing. Spare money, when I have a lump sum sitting there, and I was thinking, should I just buy, you know, one Evolving Sky box? I really love it. I hope one day I can own one of it. Not so much as a investment piece, because it is more for a collection, you know, to boast and to show off, I would say, to at least tell myself that I've made it, I finally made it, right? Maybe not Team Up is too much, but Evolving Sky is something that I hope one day I will own. But my practical mind always asks myself, you know, is this actually what I need in terms of growing my investment, in terms of my stage of, you know, financial situation? Do I think this is the suitable time for me to do this? I will always fall back to the more practical solution that tell myself, no, I don't think I'll do that, because if one day this really does happen, you know, the Pokemon TCG failed for whatever reason, everybody rejects them, I'm going to lose big if I buy this at the current market price. I mean, if you got in at a very early stage, then you have nothing much to lose. But if you are thinking about buying in at this very moment and thinking that they will go up forever, I think it is actually pretty risky, right? I just want to summarize this. Current set, in my opinion, they have higher or at least equal potential in gains. For if you're comparing just the highest and the best set like your Evolving Sky, I think the potential in gain is at least as high as the current set. In the next 5 years, do I think they're going to 3x? I think it's very highly probable. But if you are talking about risk now, gains for the current set is probably just going to be as high as, you know, Evolving Skies and Team Up, like the few sets that I've shown you, the Destined Rival, the Surging Spark, Paldea Evolved, but they come with much lower risk. And this is something that I would urge and I would encourage a lot of us who are thinking about this as an investment to really think about, to really consider. And because the print volume right now at this moment is a lot higher now, we are about 20% to 30% higher than, you know, the Sword and Shield era, and the Sword and Shield era is like almost 300% higher than the Sun and Moon. The Sun and Moon is like almost 200 to 300% higher than the era before that, right? So with the print volume getting so high, even though there are many more people who actually rip them open, but there are also many more people who are keeping them sealed. So I think we probably will be looking at a lower price ceiling compared to the previous generation, where we are seeing boxes that goes, you know, $2,000, $3,000, even though nobody likes them. You know, popular sets, like, I mean, they are not really popular, but a lot of people talk about Steam Siege. When they are out, nobody loves them, but at the moment they are going for such a high price. So now we are asking, are we going to see the same thing for like Darkness Ablaze or your Vivid Voltages, Battle Styles? Are we going to see the same thing? Do we expect them to hit, you know, $1,000, $2,000 in the next 5 years time? This is, I think, something up to debate, right? So let me know what you think. Let me know whether you agree or disagree with me. I think this is a fun exercise for me mentally, and also something to always keep me grounded. This is the reason why I do not buy into, even though I may be able to afford 1 or 2 boxes here and there, but I would prefer to still buy as an investment the more recent set, the more current set at a much lower entry price. Let me know what you think about this. See you in the next one.